The underground utility community is growing faster than ever. You need to be prepared to get the job done and get it done safely. This video will help make you aware of potential hazards and learn best practices for operating roto-witch boring equipment. It is not a substitute for any equipment operator's manual. If you need additional training on your equipment, contact your local Ditch Witch dealer. Before you use any Ditch Witch equipment, read and understand the operator's manual, which can be found on your machine or at ditchwitch.com. In addition to this video and the operator's manual, the safety section of the Ditch Witch website features a general equipment safety video and an extensive list of safety guidelines that we recommend you read and review frequently. The general equipment safety video covers proper personal protective equipment, preparing the job site for excavation, transporting equipment, emergency procedures, and general safety information for the job site. We recommend you view the general equipment safety video in combination with this video. Only use original equipment manufacturer replacement parts. Do not make any modifications to your equipment unless it is approved by the Ditch Witch factory. Protect yourself by wearing the appropriate personal protective equipment for the job site. Do not wear any jewelry or loose or frayed clothing that can catch on rotating parts, and tie back all long hair. Existing utilities must be located, marked, and verified. The planned bore path should not be within 10 feet of existing utilities. Regular maintenance and inspection are essential to the safe operation of equipment. On drilling attachments with a cross joint, a yoke guard must be used. Ensure that the yoke guard is installed and the joint moves freely. Check the rods. Do not use rods that are bent or have nicks in the surface. Ensure slip latches are working properly. Ensure that the bits are in good condition. Worn bits may create the need for additional pressure against the formation, which will cause the rods to flex more. Do not use the drilling attachment unless the machine and attachment controls are functioning correctly, and the yoke guard is installed over the cross joint. Before operating your machine or drilling attachment, be familiar with the controls and proper operation of the machine. Your machine needs someone at the controls at all times during operation. Do not use the machine if releasing the controls does not stop the turning shaft. Only operate your machine from the operator station. Before starting, all controls should be in the neutral position, and the parking brake, if equipped, should be engaged. While operating the roto-witch, keep bystanders and other workers at least 10 feet away from the rotating drill string. Stop the machine if anyone gets too close. Keep everyone away from the rotating drill string, except the trained helper, while using the drill string guide. Do not straddle the trench or drill rod while drilling. Do not use any part of your body to direct or hold the drill string. If an item of clothing or hair gets caught in the rotating drill string, you can be injured or killed. In the event of an emergency or if anyone comes near the equipment, release the control to stop the attachment. Drill rod can bow if drilling is forced too quickly. Proceed slowly and carefully. Do not proceed if drill rod cannot be controlled while boring. Always rotate clockwise. Rotate counterclockwise only briefly to dislodge a bit or reamer that has seized in the bore hole. To join the rods, the hex ends must be aligned, and the slip latch on the male end must be lined up with the hole in the female end. To disconnect, use the available tool or a screwdriver through the hole in the female side of the joint to release the connection. Some short bores may be able to be conducted with one operator. If the bore requires additional drilling rod to be added after the bore has started, or the bore cannot be aligned or started without the drill string guide, a helper trained on roto-witch operation and associated hazards will be needed. If a helper is needed to add rods or use the rod guide, have the helper tuck in any loose clothing and tie back any loose hair. The helper must not wear frayed clothing. Dig a starting trench perpendicular to the area being crossed. The starting trench should taper to a flat bottom at the depth of the intended bore and have a straight front face. This will make it easier to start the bit into the ground. The trench should be long enough to achieve a flat bottom and to only allow 10 to 15 feet of rod outside of the trench. Dig an exit receiving trench parallel to the area being crossed. The receiving pit should be the same depth of the intended bore. Lay out the rods across the area to be crossed. Mark the rod to help indicate when the exit pit will be reached. Line machine up with trench. Assemble at least 20 feet but no more than 30 feet of drill string, with one end connected to the roto-witch and the other end laying in the starting trench. Slowly drive the machine forward to the starting point, putting slight pressure on the drill string. Do not cause the drill string to bow. If it bows, stop rotation and reverse the machine slowly until it straightens. Start the drill string rotation. Slowly drive the machine forward with the drill string rotating. Always allow the bits to do their job and do not force the bits, which may cause overflexing of the drill rods. When using compaction bits, it is best to keep the rotation and thrust slow to reduce the bit from climbing or being forced off path. The slower rotation allows the compact bit to corkscrew through the ground and only thrust enough to keep up with the bit as it goes through the ground. Rock bits cut the soil versus corkscrewing through the soil. Increase the rotation and thrust pressure to the bit when cutting, but not so much that it causes the drill rod to whip, flex upward, or rotate irregularly. After the bore is established, the speed can be increased if desired. If the bore will not start without the drill string trying to bow excessively, try a different entry point or use a shorter drill string to start the bore. If the bit tries to walk or the drill string tries to bend when starting the bore, a drill guide is needed to help align the drill string as it enters the soil. A trained helper will be needed to hold the drill string guide while the operator controls the equipment. The person holding the guide must stand only on the left side of the approach trench. Only approved Ditch Witch drill string guides should be used. Once 3 to 5 foot of the drill string has entered the ground, stop the roto-witch and remove the rod guide. It should not be used past the first joint. Never use the drill string guide during back reaming or pullback. If the bore requires additional drilling rod to be added, have a trained helper disconnect the rods and then back up the machine. The helper should place a rod in between and lightly hold the rod with palms open. The helper should direct the machine operator to rotate the attachment slowly until the slip latch is aligned. Once aligned, the helper should direct the operator to move the machine forward slowly without rotating the attachment until the connection is made. Once the bit enters the receiving pit, stop the rotation with the latch at the top for access. The latch position can be determined by looking at the latch position on the first joint connected to the roto-witch shaft. The machine should be turned off and the key removed, while replacing the drill bit with a back reamer if needed, and attaching the product to pull back. Start the machine and slowly reverse to pull the back reamer or bit back through the bore while rotating the drill string clockwise. Do not try to increase hole size too much in one pass. Several passes using successively larger reamers will save wear on machine. During back reaming, keep drill string straight. Sharp bends in the drill rod at the motor coupling can cause rod failure. If drilling with 20 to 30 feet of rod, pull back entire string until the product is pulled into the entry trench. If drilling with more than 20 to 30 feet of rod, or if room doesn't allow for pulling back entire string, pull back until a rod is out of the ground. Have a helper remove the rod. Slowly move the machine forward and have a helper reconnect the rods. The helper should lightly hold the rod with palms open while directing the machine operator to move the machine forward slowly until the rod can be connected. Continue pulling back until the product reaches the entry trench. In some areas, wet boring is desirable. The process described previously is the same, with a few exceptions. When wet boring, the rods and tools are threaded connections. Never use machine torque to loosen or tighten the connections. Never rotate counterclockwise, as this will loosen the connections. The most important component for safety on any job site is you, the equipment operator. It is your responsibility to make sure the equipment is ready to operate properly. If you have any questions or anything doesn't look or feel right, stop operation and contact your local Ditch Witch dealership. We're here to help you get the job done safely, efficiently, and effectively. We're in this together.